Alright, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing pick'ems for week 3 of the Overwatch League 2023 season. So, I actually did miss week 2, not actually doing the pick'ems, but I missed predicting these two matches of the Spark in the Field versus Dragons Infernal, and then I didn't do too great. An APAC, because APAC's a mess to predict. Uh, but yeah, these were my pick'ems for week 2. That's how I did. And then week 1, I got everything right in the NA region. Maybe didn't get all the points for predicting the match scores right, but I got everything but Guangzhou versus Fuel for week 1. So we're gonna start with week 3, and I'll put some videos out of power rankings after the weekends, and then I'll start doing my pick'ems on Thursday. But right now, I'm doing it with only 2 hours left before. I actually did do my pick'ems, and I didn't realize how really this would start. I did it like right after last week and wrapped up. But we're gonna start with the Spitfire versus Vegas. It's the real Spitfire. I mean, Spitfire not great right now, but way better than Vegas. Florida versus Valiant. Valiant are just the second worst team in NA right now, and they just look lost whenever they're playing. Florida, just they look like top 3 in NA. I mean, I think they actually played better than the Gladiators. Spoiler, Gladiators beat Florida 3-2. I think Florida should have actually won that push map, but Gladiators were able to make it scrappy. Gladiators were way better on control. They're way better on map 1 and 5, but everything in between, I thought Florida was better. So I actually do think Florida is still top 3, with the Outlaws and Atlanta, which we'll get to them next. Whether the Outlaws are as good as Atlanta, that will remain to be seen for the next few hours, but these are probably what we think so far are the 2 best teams in NA, maybe with the exception of Florida. Florida could be better than Houston, but we'll see in a few weeks probably. I don't know when they play, but Atlanta, I think they are the best team in the league right now. Not even just NA, in the league. Maybe Guangzhou. Might give them a run for their money, but I think Atlanta's better than Guangzhou too. I think Guangzhou is playing in a weaker region. I think Guangzhou could lose to Rain, Florida, and maybe the Outlaws. And I don't know if the Outlaws are that great. I don't know how good they are because they played against the Valiant for one of those games, and then they played against, I think it was Toronto, which don't look very great either. They look boomed. They look more boomed than Boston. But I think Atlanta takes it. The score-wise, I have no clue. I don't see a world where Houston actually wins it. But I can see any other world where it's a 3-0, 3-1, or even a 3-2. I think Atlanta is just so good, but I gotta give it Outlaws a map. They're really good too, from at least what we think. Up next we have a double points matchup, which is the Shock versus the Justice. So, as a Shock fan, I believe this is a weekend where the Shock can actually prove themselves to be a good team by blowing out the Justice in New York, which are 2 teams that could punch up and actually steal a win from the Shock, and if not, make it close. This is a weekend where the whole team has to play well, can't just be proper. I know they're not in practice facilities. I think it's going to be a good weekend for the Shock still, though. This is going to be a weekend where they need to get past this, and then when they get to other better teams like Florida, Outlaws, whenever they play Atlanta again, they can actually make it close. So I think this is a weekend they got to get through pretty confidently to get to the next weekend. I don't know their future games. I haven't looked past that, but I think Shock does take this. but I think Justice is going to steal a map. I think Justice will steal a map. They might still control, or they might still push. I don't know exactly what it'll be. Because I think Toronto is probably better than the Justice in New York, and they beat Toronto. It was very close actually, but I think Justice are good enough. I'm very high on the Justice. I think they are the best out of the bad teams. And they could beat some of the mid-table teams too, like Toronto maybe. And then up next, New York. Like I said, I think New York's good enough to take a map, or maybe even get a sneaky win off the Shock if they play poorly. And I just think Vegas is just garbage. They're just garbage. And then we got Atlanta versus Valiant. It's just another 3-0. It's like Atlanta's better than Florida, and it's like, what can you do? And I think Florida's gonna 3-0 Spitfire too. Yeah, we're looking at some 3-0 Overwatch this weekend. There's gonna be a couple games that might be close, but this honestly the whole weekend could just be 3 Overwatch. For NA at least, like I could see Atlanta 3-0ing Houston, Shock 3-0ing Justice, and up next we have Outlaws 3-0ing the Justice. But also for the last match that I was saying, like, could be a 3-0, it could be Shock 3-0ing New York. And I think they actually will 3-0 New York. I think Justice are better than New York. But I could actually see New York picking up a map off the Shock. And then so we're going to go to APAC. As you can see, I predicted Spark versus Dynasty correctly, and I did not predict Dragons losing to the field. In such dominating fashion too. I think this is going to be the hardest matchup to predict. Seoul versus Feel, but I'm going to give it to the Feel in a 3-2. 3-2. I don't know much about APAC except Guangzhou's the best team, and Hangzhou's probably the second best. Maybe Infernal. We'll see after the Infernal Spark game who's the best, but Guangzhou beats Infernal probably 3-0. They haven't dropped a map yet. I don't see a reason to have them not 3-0 in your Preds until they're proven wrong. But Seoul Infernal's pretty good. And then we have Spark Infernal. This is where I'll actually give Infernal a map. I think it could go 3-2. It might go 3-2. But I think Hangzhou still wins. And then charge just 3-0 Dragons, because Dragons are worse than Seoul Infernal, and I don't see why I would do that. But some of these matches are a little bit harder to predict, like especially Fuel versus Dynasty, just because APAC's weird. And then for NA, the Shock games are a little tricky. They're not in practice facility because we don't know if the Shock are going to be better than what they are now, or if they're just stuck lucky to get 4th. Maybe even 5th, because Gladiators and Outlaws might be better than the Shock. We don't know yet, but Outlaws are very, very tricky because we've only seen them play 2 games, but I don't know how they'll fare against Atlanta. But these are my predictions. These are the pick'ems for week 3 of the 2023 season. A little bit tricky, but thanks guys for watching. If you liked the video, comment, subscribe, let me know what you want to see. I think I'm going to start streaming soon. And then play some Overwatch, because I have a crippling addiction to this game in the esports scene. So thank you guys for watching.